Hello, it is Friday. Ooh, let me get that one off. I haven't got that one working yet. There we go. Hello, it is Friday. I thought I would do a quick live stream to talk about this new drone from DJI that landed this week. Now, this isn't going to be a major one. This is just really to give you guys some thoughts on it. Now, I don't have one. This isn't it. I was not seeded one of the new drones by DJI. I was not one of the what appeared to be thousands of YouTube channels that was seeded one by DJI, but no, I haven't. I've still got my trusty old FPV drone. So I just thought I'd do sort of a quick 20 minutes just to give some thoughts on it and just try and answer a few things that I've spotted on this one as well. So good evening, Pixel Perfect. I hope you are safe and well. If you're watching live, say hello. This video is going to go up on the channel as well. So what I'm going to do is just let it roll on a little bit for a few minutes just to let the numbers build up. How is everyone? Has anyone in the chat bought one? Because it's been available on day one. You could buy it literally out the door. Retailers had it in stock. I even know of people who literally walked into retailers the day of launch and walked out with it. In fact, we had people walk into retailers before it was even launched and walked out with it as well, as we always have with DJI. But yeah, so, you know, if there is anyone, I'd be interested to know. So no, just like Bruce, you know, I'm not on the media list for this one. Something I will say is the sheer number of people they sent this product to. In many ways, they're doing everyone no favor because it's going to be really hard to get any content properly noticed outside of the very big channels. So much so, even Philip Bloom put a post on Facebook saying he's not releasing his review yet because of look how many reviews have gone up. And just to put it up and show you guys, you know, if we look at just how many, we've got The Verge, they've had good view numbers. You've got Billy Kyle, Dobo got one, Ken was sent one by the look of it. You've got the DJI video. You've just got loads. But you've even got the likes of Linus's guys hopping in. You know, Short Circuit was even involved in this one. They put a video out too. There's just, you know, who didn't they send one to? Well, they didn't send one to me. That's for sure. So, hello, Bruce. Where's the exit? Yeah, that is the truth. So, no, you know, but I've, like all of these ones, I do watch these launches quite closely. So I just thought I'd share some of my thoughts on this one because, in many ways, it is a very, very interesting launch in the sense of it's probably their best overall camera drone to date. And I mean that from a point of the overall functionality compared to the Mavic 2 Pro, which I've got here, and some of the others. I think it probably is going to tick 99% of the boxes people want. It's certainly not a drone many people are going to upgrade to unless you've got something like a Spark, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But overall, I think there's really not a lot not to like on it, but it isn't one you're going to rush out and buy, you know, and that's the thing with it. So, anyway, let's get on with it and let's take a look for those who haven't seen. We probably have seen, but yes, DJI have put out the Mavic Air 2. Now, let me just jump across. So I am up in the corner. I wasn't sure if I was. The Mavic Air 2S, or the Air 2S, because DJI don't call them the Mavic now. And it is an upgraded Air 2. It's that simple. It now has some top object avoidance sensors. It has a new bigger 1-inch camera, and it has a couple of software tweaks, and that really is the basis of it. Now, I'm not going to dive into things too deeply. What I am going to do, though, say is about the camera. It's got a 1-inch sensor, similar to what we've got on this. Just to go clean up the Mavic 2 Pro. It's not the same camera. There are differences, but it is very similar. 1-inch sensor. This time, it's not 4K. It's up to 5.4K 30 frames a second, which alongside that will now bring 4K 60, which a lot of people are going to like. It is fixed aperture, and it is not variable aperture like you've got on the Mavic 2 Pro, but I don't think that's a big issue for most people. You know, they say you don't need ND filters on this. You still need ND filters if you want to do some stuff. It's got these new top object avoidance sensors, but to be honest, I think that's a complete waste of time. And it's got a few more bells and whistles. Now, from the camera point of view, as I've said, it's 5.4K up to 30 frames a second, or 4K 60. It's got up to 150 megabits a second data rate, but that'll be in 5K 30. I suspect it's still about 120 megabits a second in 4K 60. Haven't checked it, but I suspect it's around that. It is a fixed aperture, 20 megapixel. It is going to be a very, very nice camera. I'll say that. It supports D-Log. It supports JPEG plus RAW. It does everything you'd want it to do. The only real thing it doesn't have is what they call the Hasselblad color profiles on this, and it doesn't have the variable aperture. And I'm just not convinced how many people would even really know how to use the variable aperture. The camera-wise, I think it's absolutely solid. They go over to that 1-inch sensor. We don't know what the sensor is, but it's a 1-inch sensor. They go on to D-Log M supports, which is very nice. Again, very nice feature to have. Hyperlapse, smart modes, it's got all these typical stuff. Hyperlapse, wide angle, 180 in sphere, all the usual stuff we've come to see. And then really the big other change is the top object avoidance sensors. Now, there is another change I'll talk about in a minute, which is the wireless system, and I've seen a question on that about goggles, and I'll come to that in a minute. But it's got a bit more software tweaks, what DJI call master shots. This doesn't particularly interest me. Very nice. Basically, if you don't know what master shots is, it will take, I think, is it 12? 10. 10 maneuvers. It'll just do them and then chop it up and make a little film for you out of it automatically. It's a software feature. It really is. So it will go away, it'll do a maneuver, and it will create this little video for you automatically. Quite nice, but how many people are going to really use it? If everyone's doing it, they're all going to look very similar. I don't really think it's much of a thing. DJI have said it's got upgraded Spotlight 2.0, Active Track 4.0, and Point of Interest 3.0. Now, I'm going to talk about these a bit more in a minute, because DJI love to increment these numbers with very, very little change, and I will talk about that specifically, because in all of the videos I've seen, there isn't really a lot of difference here on this stuff, and I'll cover that properly in a minute. And you know, really that's it. You've got these top sensors. Now, there is a slight drop in flight time compared to the Mavic Air 2 because there's a bit of extra weight. It's down to 31 minutes. You know, they're saying about this top sensors, and we'll come on to that a bit more in a second as well. And then we've got this OcuSync 3. It's got AirSense, which DJI have been putting on all their drones recently. And they're bundling a load of accessories when you buy the Fly More kit, really. So, before we go back into it, it's a very interesting product. Now, Rob Rose said Ken Dobo video is the best I've seen. I've not seen his yet. He's ditching his Mavic 2 Pro. I haven't seen his, and I'm going to guess the reasons are size and weight, and the benefits this brings are not worth having. And I'd probably agree with that. I can't say I'd sell this to buy that and just take a big loss on that, because it's not... Okay, it is smaller, but I think if I didn't have this, I'd buy that. But I'm a bit reluctant to just sell this for a lot less and go and buy that, if I'm honest. But I can understand many people's reasons for doing so, especially around the size and weight. Now, it was a bit of a weird launch, because it wasn't really a massive launch. It just fell out. The video launched. Millions of reviews went on YouTube. One thing I'm just going to say on that, and I don't mean this against Ken, because I really like Ken, actually. It's all very well people who've been sent these for free saying they're going to ditch their one drone for the other. There's a very different thing, people doing it with their own money. And I don't know if Ken has bought his, and I understand many people's reasons for doing it. But one thing I've become a lot more let's just say, weary of is when you've got YouTubers like myself who've been sent a product and we say, this is the best one, I'm never going to use that again. That's all very well if we haven't paid for it. But most people are not quite in the same position, and you have to also understand that as well. I can certainly see the reasons to ditch this for that. I'm just not convinced viability of selling this for that is something I would personally do, if that makes sense. But what I will do is after I finish this live stream, I'll go and check Ken's out, because I do like Ken's videos. He does a very, very good job. He really does indeed. So, to cover some specific points on this drone. So, let's cover the little interesting bits. Okay. Get back onto the desktop. Okay, so the camera is, as I've said, 5.4K, 150 megabits a second, no variable aperture. Just remember that. About the only downside to it, that's the only thing I'd say is a downside on this drone. Moving down. Spotlight 2.0. Interesting. Doesn't really look much different to me in all of the videos I've seen. Active Track 4.0. Now, I've got a bit of a bugbear on this. There has been some fantastic videos put out showing how the object sensing works on this. And personally, I don't think this is any better than what we've seen from DJI before. It still has many of the same quirks that we've seen on DJI's drones before with Active Track. That is, its tracking drops very easily because it's contrast based. It jerks around when it loses tracking and tries to fly into you. If you watched, whose video is it? It's a great video. Let me just find it. If you've watched DC Rainmaker's video, it is very good on showing this. Very, very good indeed. And, you know, to me, this, let me just find, where is he? He goes to, and when it loses him, it tries to take him out again a few times. It's exactly the same as the Active Track on, actually, it's before that. It's when he turned around, isn't it? Oh, the ads are coming up now. We'll just wait for that a second. It tries to fly into him. It doesn't avoid branches, and it struggles mid-rolls. Mid-rolls, mid-rolls, mid-rolls. It does that very much I'm going to fly into you thing again. Let me just see if I can find it. Here we go. Is it here? No, is it the bit where it tries to take him out? He's back on the Skydio there. It must be early on. It's really hard to find it when you're trying to scrub. So yeah, it's certainly not much better. In my opinion, it is no better at all than the previous system. The sensors on the top, yes, there's more sensors, but if the system is flawed to start with, you're going to get the same behavior. I've just got this playing because I wanted to find the bit to show you. There, watch this now. I think it's here. You'll see it, and I think he'll stop, and it just tries to do that same thing again. Here we go. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, and boom. You know, it is very disconcerting. It really is when it does this. And the Active Track. Look, the Active Track, in my opinion, is no better than any of the other models. It should not be trusted. DJI have put a new, they're saying it's better, but it is nothing like the Skydio. Shouldn't be trusted anywhere near branches and trees. So, really, I'm not really impressed with the big difference. Then it comes on to the radio system, and that's the Active Track there with the extra 2 cameras on the top, and they're showing you the back. Yeah. Right. OcuSync 3. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Now, DJI are saying this drone features the OcuSync 3 image transmission system, which is the same image transmission system that this uses, the DJI FPV drone. It's not OcuSync 2. The original DJI FPV system wasn't OcuSync 2. It wasn't OcuSync 3. It was OcuSync 2.5. We had to make the name up. But they're saying it has 4 antennas, dual band, 1080p transmission, 12 kilometers, OcuSync 3. However, when you dig into the specs, it all gets a bit messy because the drone is saying it is OcuSync 3. However, the remote controller is OcuSync 2. And what DJI are actually saying is the video transmission system on the drone is OcuSync 3, whereas the remote control transmission system is OcuSync 2, which is a bit confusing. Now, this had a huge amount of speculation on day one. Is it supported by the smart controller? Is it going to work with the motion controller and goggles version 2? Now, the smart controller does work with the Air 2S. That is fine. However, the goggles version 2 and the motion controller at this moment in time do not. We do not know if this is permanent. We do not know if this is the future. What you have to say is see is what DJI say. And what DJI say is this. Does the Air 2 support the FPV goggle series or the motion controller? For further information, please pay attention to future firmware updates. Now that is a very firm maybe, but no guarantees. Now, just to give you my take on this, having used the DJI gear for many, many years and come across these things all of the time, whenever DJI say something like that, they're either thinking about it or they're planning to do it, but do not base any purchase decisions based on it actually happening. I have said it time and time again, and until it's in your hand with DJI, don't trust it. It may not happen. It isn't a no and it isn't a yes. Now, there was a lot of rumors beforehand saying it's going to work. I believe some of the media guys who were given early access on their firmware, their beta firmware that they were using, the goggles did work. It seems that the public firmware, it doesn't. Now, that often happens with DJI. For instance, there was solid talk of the version 1 FPV system having USB video output before it launched. I never personally saw it, but others did. Yet, it was removed for launch. So, there are things DJI do at times when they're either not happy with the performance or they haven't got the firmware where they need it to be. So, it does appear that the pre-launch firmware for the media people, the people who were seeded the product to review, do say that it was working with the goggles version 2, but here and now today it isn't. So, we're going to have to wait and see. There are no guarantees. There are no yeses. There are no nos. We're just going to have to wait and see where it goes. Now, really, just to give you what I think about this, and please, guys, if you've got any questions, goodbye, Bruce, please put them in the comments. You know what? There are some things on this which are a little disappointing. For instance, on the Mavic Air 2 series, they've removed that smart return to home feature where it will follow its route backwards rather than just go direct line of sight. But they've added something else called, I think it's battery saving return to home. There are some limiting features around the APS system, which is, let me just show you this. The APS system is when it flies itself between trees and everything. You are heavily limited to the video frame rates you can record in. Something to be in note with the APS. Is it APS? Let me just find it. Have they got it on the main page? It's when you dig into the manual, right? You see them talking about it in the manual. I think they talk about it here. Is it? Let's have a look. Ability APS 4.0. Okay, here it is. So, APS 4.0. Okay, and this is where it navigates through the trees. Yes, that's all very nice, but you are massively limited on video recording resolution when using that feature. The maximum I think you can record is 1080p. It's in the manual. I did notice that one buried away in the manual. AP. It's been a while since I've used this feature, so it's APAS. Let's just go, Control F, APAS. And it's in the here we go. I think we definitely need to zoom in on that a bit, don't we, guys? So just to show you this, this tells you how it works. And when you read down here, APS is disabled when using intelligent flight modes and recording at high resolutions such as 2.7K, 48, 50, and 60, 1080p, 120, 4K, 48, 50, and 60, and 5K are not available in APS. So looking at that, you should have 4K 30 in that mode still. Okay, but some of the models aren't available. Some of the modes aren't available. So that is worth taking into account. And the other thing, as I was saying, was about the smart battery return to home features. They've changed that as well. So, Jet Martin, will the top sensors really prevent you crashing into something above you if there's something towards your back? No, it's not. These top sensors they're not really top. These sensors are for high bank angle flying. That's what they're for. They're allowing it to do that. You know, it's the same on this. When you know, obviously, there's no object avoidance in sport mode on this model, so these sensors are allowing you to have that object sensing. Let's just go into the manual. Do you know, I haven't checked, is the object sensing working in sport mode on this? I haven't actually checked. Where are we? Just have a look. Vision system, they call it. I haven't actually checked. Allowing for flying. Actually, it'd be sport mode. Switch between sport mode, normal mode, and city mode. Flight modes. In sport mode, the aircraft uses position, making it responsive to movements, maximum speed is 19. Oh no, so object sensing is still disabled in sport mode. See, I find that very interesting. Very interesting that object sensing is still disabled, yet you've got those forward-facing cameras. So just to show you guys this, sorry, I was looking for it on the video. I knew the answer, but... So, sport mode, the aircraft uses GPS positioning. Obviously, obstacle sensing is disabled in sport mode. Now, to me, that makes these new cameras on the top almost a complete waste of time. I knew the answer, but everyone is talking about them as if they're the top sensor. Yeah, no, it is not. You know, the Mavic 2 Pro has a top TOF sensor, so it's an infrared sensor. It's not like it's like the Inspire 2, really, more than proper upwards vision sensors, but it does have some object sensing. But the cameras on the front, it does make you wonder why those cameras are there in normal modes. Because, well, okay, I think we all know that when this was banked over, it didn't really have the best object sensing. So that's why they've put them there. To be honest, I think it's been done more than anything just to put a feature on it. I'm not convinced those cameras on the front are going to make any real world difference. I really don't. I really don't. Evening, Enquiries UK. Hope you are safe and well. So, look, what is my thoughts on this new drone? Well, I will be honest. I think this is probably going to be one of DJI's most popular models now they've done these upgrades. I think there is a hell of a lot to like about this product. 1-inch sensor, 4K 60, JPEG plus RAW, D-Log, 150 megabits a second. Boom. That's the camera sorted. Everyone's happy. From a flight point of view, small and light, 31 minutes. What is there not to like? I don't really personally care about all of the additional smart features. I'm not particularly interested in that myself these days. They're handy. POI and stuff like that's handy when you want to do something specific. But these new features around it, taking these, you know, videos for you and making a little shot, I'm not really interested in that. I do think this is going to be the most popular portable camera drone there is. I loved my Mavic Air. My Mavic Air was almost the perfect drone, apart from it being too noisy and the radio system being too bad, the enhanced Wi-Fi. I could actually put up with the camera on it because it had a fairly okay camera for the size of it, and I was willing to take those compromises for the size. Whereas now, you're going to have that 1-inch sensor on a much more portable drone. If I was buying today, I would not be buying this. Period. I would not be buying the Mavic 2 Pro. I'd be buying the E2S. 100%. Now, do I think, though, it's an upgrade? Not really. As I said, I find it hard to say, sell this and buy that. If they gave me that, I'd be using it all of the time. But for me to sell this now, I'm going to lose a chunk of money and have to spend, look, if I sold this today, I'm probably going to get £600 now in the UK. So to get to the Fly More kit, this with my Fly More kit, I might get 600, 650. I'm going to have to put another £600 to it to be able to buy an A2S. It's simply not worth it. £600 is too much money to make this smaller. It's just not worth it. However, for people looking to buy it today, I think it's a very, very good option. Or if you're someone flying an Mini or Mini 2 and you fancy an upgrade, definitely a Spark or a Mavic Pro, definitely. It's a tough, if you got one of those drones, yes, but from the Mavic 2 Pro, no. I can see Mavic 2 zoom users being interesting because of the 1-inch sensor. I really can. But it really isn't an upgrade. So I think there is a massive amount to like about it. I really do. Jet Martin, is the A2S with the £400 price difference, i.e. with Fly More combo, refresh, kit access? That's what you've got to ask yourself. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to upgrade. It's a lot of, okay. The extra sensors on the top really don't, it's not anywhere near what Skydio can do. So it doesn't matter what they do. It's just not as good. It's that simple. Okay, on the object avoidance. You can't trust it, as these videos have shown. So they may as well just not be there, in my opinion. Especially the fact they don't work in sport mode. I'm a bit disappointed in that. It's one thing I forgot to check before coming on here. It's the only thing I didn't know. I don't really care about the lack of aperture on the sensor. It's not a biggie for me, that. It really isn't. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's a drone you can't get excited about. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. I think it's very nice. I think it's very tidy. I'd love to have a play with one. I'd love to fly one. If I owned one, I can probably say I'd use it a lot compared to my other drones. But it's not... This doesn't have any issues that stop me flying it on a daily basis. I don't think, oh my God, this is too big to carry with me. It still isn't. Here's the bag. It's really not an issue for me. Most of the time when I'm out and about, I'm carrying this damn thing, right? Full of camera gear. The drone is the least of my problems, to be honest. Jet Martin said the sensors on the side would have been a hell of a lot more useful. Absolutely, for object avoidance, especially in POI and things like that. 100% agree. When it's doing active track on the side, when it's doing what's that mode called again? It's jumped out of my mind. It'll come back to me in a minute. Where's it gone? Spotlight. Sorry, when it's doing Spotlight as well. And APS, agreed. Spotlight, I was thinking of, because Spotlight's quite good. So, yeah, side sensors would have been much more use. Much more use. But yeah, it's an interesting product. I think it's probably one of the best drones they've made in a very long time. It's just hard to get excited about it, if I'm honest. It very much is bits of everything else made to a $999 price point. And it's not $999 in the UK. I think it's $899 in the UK, actually. It's a little cheaper than I thought in the $899 or $1169 with the Fly More. Whereas it's $999 in the US. Be a bit more excited, please. It's really hard to be... It's bits of every other drone they've ever made in this package. I think it's interesting. As I said, I think they're going to sell a hell of a lot of them. It's far more interesting than the A2 was. I was very underwhelmed by the A2. This, I'm a bit more, yeah, I can see why people will want this. Again, 1-inch sensor, 4K 60, 150 megabits a second, 12 kilometers range, 31 minutes flight time. What more do you want from a camera drone? Literally, what more do you want from a camera drone? It's a sweet spot. It really, really is. It really is. It's a bit of a shame we've had this bit of nonsense around the goggle support. I think it'd be a no-brainer for DJI to add goggle support. I don't understand why we get this segment. I put a bit of a post up on Facebook which got ripped apart about it. This is typical DJI siloed behavior, that there is just no compatibility properly between these devices. There is zero excuse for them not to have made this compatible. Some people have said, oh, well, they don't make it compatible yet because they haven't got enough supply of the goggles. I don't buy that for 1 minute. There's enough users out there with existing goggles they could have done it for. It is simply the way DJI is set up with their siloed behavior that these products are not interchangeable. These products don't communicate with each other. This won't communicate with... Where's it gone? This. I can't even use the remote on this as a second feed on that. You can't use the Mavic remote. You know, the last product... I'm shocked it even... To be honest, right? I'm shocked it works with the smart controller. If I'm completely honest, I'm astonished it works with the smart controller. But let's see what the performance is like first.